Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Um, it is me, Andrea Rose Washington, and to welcome to my 12-week fall writing course workshop scenario, or I'm calling it fallish fallish writing. um, so as some of you guys know, may not know, my name is Andrea. I am a indie author. I write sci-fi and fantasy stories. I write stories in that center around a Black female characters um, who just need their story being told. Um, and so, one of the things that I have noticed throughout my time as a writer is going to conventions around the country um, is I get a very simple question every single time. Every convention without fail. A lot of other authors can attest to this. A lot of other authors can also say like this is something that does happen. People ask, how do we do what we do? How do we do this? How do we write? How do we take the time? How do we create the story? A lot of people have an idea and they just don't know how to get it on paper. They don't know how to get it in front of people. They don't know how to do what needs to be done to get their book from the idea that they have in their mind onto something tangible for them to just for someone else to touch and read. And so one of the things that I have been working on um, for like the past couple of months is this fall writing course. And the reason I picked fall is because November is, almost if I say it incorrectly, don't judge me. NaNoWriMo. That's how I always pronounced it. I'm not quite sure if that's how it's pronounced, but NaNoWriMo, which is like the National Writing Month, like competition type thing. And with November coming up, that's when a lot of people sit down and write a lot of their books. And one of the things that I know a lot of aspiring authors or creators like to do is sort of just jump in head first, November 1st, and they just start writing. And that's not really going to work because writing a book, while whether you could be a planner or a pantser, it somewhat takes some time. And not everyone is a pantser. I try to be that. I try to just, okay, I have an idea, I'm gonna start writing. I am a planner. There are days where I get a scene idea and I see the entire thing vividly and I need to go and write it immediately. And that scene is perfect, it's flawless, I never want to make any changes. But for most of the books that I write, I have to stick to a plan that, or the outline that I wrote. Another thing that I always tell people as I've gotten a little bit older and a little bit more busy in my personal life with work and other obligations is that I can't always wait for inspiration to write. Um, Inspiration is wonderful when you have it, but it's not necessarily a guarantee that the time that you want to be, that the time you have dedicated to write will be the time that you have to write, or that you even have the idea at the time. That's one of the things that I have noticed as also I've gotten older that I may set aside an hour or two to like write 2 chapters and I'm here and I have whatever I'm using to write that chapter and nothing comes. Absolutely nothing. Zero things. And so even sometimes if you do an outline or even if you're like a pantser like that, it just doesn't really work. So one of the things that I have sort of implemented in the last couple of years is writing on a schedule. And to write on a schedule, you have to do a lot of planning beforehand. So that way, when you are saying on Monday at 4 o'clock, I'm going to sit down for an hour and write out chapter one, you know exactly what's going to be written. And I've written a couple books that way, and it's probably the best way for me to write because I, at the end of the day, need structure and routines to get things done. I am very much a structure and routine person. I Things don't get completed if things are not done on a schedule anymore. Books don't get written, chapters, social media posts don't go up. Nothing is done if I don't write it, if it's not already planned on a schedule and everything. So that's where this fallish writing workshop course comes from because I get this question a lot, and I want to be able to help people, and I want to be able to show people ways that they can actually get this done, the ways that they can continue to improve and continue to be write and love this thing that we do. Because I was talking to one of my author artist friends earlier today that we both picked a like career where the only way someone's going to be able to enjoy our story, enjoy our work, enjoy what we have seen in our head is if we take the time to actually create it. So we're going to create it. So this course is 12 weeks. I have sat down and I have done lesson plans for 12 weeks. And after each week lesson plan, you will have homework before you go into the next week. And this is not just me talking to you guys, because I'm also doing this because I have stuff that I need to get done. And as I stated earlier, I need structure, I need routine. My brain works best with structure and routine. So that is what we are going to do. So 12 weeks. Okay. So as you can see here, we have 12 weeks of work to do. And week 1 is introduction and goal setting. Week 2 is plot and structure. Week 3 is character development. Week 4 is setting and world building. Week 5 is POV/voice. Week 6 is dialogue and pacing. Week 7 is writing conflict and tension. Week 8, drafting the first half. Week 9, midpoint review and adjustments. Week 10, drafting the second half. Week 11, revision and techniques. And week 12, final revisions and next steps. So if you notice, when we get to week 8, that is about where November starts. And that's when we will start breaking out everything into daily writing sprints or writing amounts. Because as I stated, that we're using this for NaNoWriMo. November, we are writing a book or our first draft of a book or the outline or however many words you want to write. For NaNoWriMo, mostly it's 50,000 words. I necessarily don't write to a word count. I write till the story is done. So I necessarily, if the book is long, it's long. If it's short, it's short. I basically write until I feel the story is done. I don't like to just write to get a word count. Now, that is just me. That does not mean anyone who writes to a word count is wrong. I believe what works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other. I believe do what works for you best. And so if you need a word count to write to a word count. That is completely fine. So that leads us into week 1 because we are setting goals this week for the next 12 weeks. So first step is you want to choose your genre/theme for your book that you're working on. What is it that you're going to write? What is the genre, the theme of the story you're writing? Because that is, you need that to make sure everything that we do in this next 12 weeks makes sense and is cohesive. Unless you're doing a short story book and you're doing multiple different short stories. Otherwise, if you're trying to write one full novel, novelette, anything like that, you need a genre theme. Figure it out. I have notes. The reason this is sort of important is because it helps you start to narrow down anything else that you need to do. If you are writing something, like if you're writing historical fiction that's like real life history, that might change some of the things that you're doing. You might need to read up on what was happening during that historical time. If you're writing about World War II, you need to make sure you have your facts correct if you want it to be a factual fictional book. If you're writing about sci-fi, about a science that exists that you want to incorporate into your book and you want people who are in that industry to also read and understand it, you're going to have to do some research. So understanding your genre and theme will help you outline everything else that we're going to work out throughout this these 12 weeks. Because remember, we have a lot to do. And to make sure that you are not going back and redoing your work more than once, twice. However, you want to make sure you are staying in line with your genre and theme. So, step 2 that we'll also be working on is your goals. Now, it's easier said than done to have a goal. One thing to keep in mind, and that's something that I'm also keeping in mind, that as I are making this goal, because you're not making it right now, you're not making it at this moment as you're watching this video, you are going to take some time to think about what your goal is. Because if your goal is to write your book or write for your book, or to, let's say you're like, okay, I want to write 500 words. Okay, you wrote for 500 words. Did that complete the book? No. You want to create a goal that you can measure, that is achievable, is specific, is relevant to what you're actually working on, and you can sort of break it out into a timeline. Your goal should be the reason you are creating your outline, your timeline, all of that. And it's how you sort of break it up. So, for example, if my goal for these 12 weeks is to have a draft of Amatry's Magic Book 3 completed. That is my goal. So what does that look like? I need a complete first draft. So basically, that's a very specific, that's a very clearly defined goal. A complete first draft of Amatry's Magic Book 3. The whole story completed, but just like the first draft version. I know that's not going to be perfect. I know as I'm making this goal that it doesn't mean this is at the end of November. This book is not ready to go uploaded to Amazon or whatever platform you use to publish your books. I know at the end of these 12 weeks, this book is not going ready to sell. This book is going to be a draft. I'm going to have a draft that I will go through and do the edits for, and reread and re-edit and update and do all of those things. But at the end of this 12-week period, I will have a draft of Amatry's Magic Book 3. Your goal also needs to be something that you can measure. So with my complete first draft, I can measure at the end of November, December, at the end of these 12 weeks, I can look and be like, okay, I got halfway there. I got 3/4 there. I'm almost there. You need to be able to measure how you're completing your goal. As you break everything out, as you start to work on the outline, as we work on those things together throughout these 12 weeks, you need to make sure that what you are working on can be clearly checked off, defined, and completed. Don't make a goal that you cannot quantify in some way, shape, or form, that it was completed or if it wasn't. It can't be subjective. It needs to be an actual yes or no. You did it. You're on your way. It's almost done, or it's not done. It needs to be something that's also achievable. I know some amazing writers. And I know that they can set a goal that says their book will be ready to go to print December 30th. And when they say that they mean it. Their book will be ready to go to print, to their edit. It's gone through editing and all those things, December 30th. I am not that writer. So make sure that the goal that you're making is something that you can actually achieve. Don't create your goals based off of other people's goals. Don't or based off of what other people are capable of doing in a short amount of time. I have friends who can write 10,000 to 20,000 words a day. I am not that writer. I'm very, there are moments where I'm a little jealous, but I'm not that writer. I can maybe get 2,000 words a day. So if I'm breaking out my goal as in I want a complete book, and I'm going to break out how many words I'm going to do a day, I need to keep that in mind of what I'm capable of a day or a week. Sometimes if I know I'm going to have a very busy week in my day job, I may not be able to schedule enough time to write. I may say, okay, I can probably get 500 words. Or if I like to handwrite my books, I use a Remarkable tablet. I may say I'm going to get 5 pages of handwritten story out on my Remarkable tablet. That's a goal. But make sure your goal is something that you are able to achieve. Do not make your goals based off of anyone else who's doing this course with you. If you and your friends are going to do it together and they're like, well, oh, I can probably get about 10,000 words a week. If you can only get 2,000 words a week, which there are weeks where I can only get maybe 1,000 words a week just because of the way life is, make sure you keep that in mind as you're making your goals. You want to achieve your goals, so don't create stretch goals that you are not going to be able to get to and then be sort of disappointed with yourself, because this process is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be energetic, and it's supposed to keep you motivated. And then also have a goal that is sort of like time bound. Don't just say at the end of November you want to have a draft done. I'm saying that, right? But I'm also bringing out the timeline of what I'm going to complete each day to get it done. So I know when November starts, if I want, let's say my book is going to be 40,000 to 50,000 words, I know then I need to write about 1,500 words a day. If that is not feasible for me, then I may have to adjust my goal and say, okay, I want the skeleton draft of Amatry's Magic Book 3 done. And the skeleton draft means just the chapters of strictly the plot. No extra stuff is thrown in there. All those extra chapters come in after that. But if I'm saying I want the base story, like just the skeleton, just the bones, not the meat, not the skin, not the blood, not the organs, none of those things, just the bones of the story, like bare bones. If I say I want that done, then that might be something that's a little bit more, that I might be more able to do. And then keep in mind what's going on in your calendar as you're making these goals. I have a very busy September and October in my personal life and in my writing life. I will be at 2 conventions in October. I'm releasing a book in October. I have things to do and obligations in my personal life. I have a very busy time. I know I won't be able to, I know there will be days where I won't even pick up a pen to write because I know I'm not going to be able to. So as I'm making my goals, I'm keeping that in mind. So if there's like a week where I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have like a good hour in the car. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my voice memo app. And my goal today is I'm going to speak out the scene how I see it. It doesn't need to be perfect. You don't have to say character 1 said X, Y, and Z, and character 2 said no, you can't do that, and character 3 said yes, I can. You don't need to say that. You can just say the scene as you see it in your head, as you've planned it, as you've written it out, as you worked on it. You know, think, okay, as I'm driving to this convention, I'm going to dedicate an hour of my drive time to use my voice memo app and speak out my story. And then when you get to a point where you are able to then upload that or like have your voice memo app play for, I believe Google has, if you use Google Docs, you're able to use the speech function. And this is something I do all the time. I will, if I'm in the car for very long drives, I will speak out a scene. I'm like, you know what? I didn't get a chance to write this week. Let me go ahead and let me go and get this scene out on my voice memo app. And then when I get home, I play my voice memo for the speech, text to speak function, or the function on Google Docs that does your speech to text. And as I'm unpacking, as I'm getting everything else done out of the car, and as I'm like relaxing and getting some food when I get home, my voice memo app is then putting everything onto paper. So then I have something to work with. I'm like, okay, I can take this and turn it into a scene, into a chapter from my book. So make sure that you are keeping your life and your calendar in check as you're making these goals. Because if you can't write every day because you have an all-day conference, if you're going to be out of town at a conference, a work conference, don't say you're going to give yourself 2 hours to write every night if you know you are busy, from 7:30 all the way to 9 p.m. Don't kill yourself for these. So I want to make sure that these goals are relevant, are realistic, are time bound, you can achieve them, and you can measure them out. So I'm going to be doing that as well, because I, again, will be using my Remarkable tablet. I'm not sponsored by them, but I just really love this thing. FYI, it's like writing on paper, and I have literally all of my stories on here, and it backs up to my 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 computer and my phone and the cloud. So I always have access to this no matter where I'm at. Okay. So we've talked about choosing your genre and your theme and why that's important, because you need to make sure your story that you're, whatever you're working on, you have an idea of what you're doing. We've talked about setting your goals. The next thing we're talking about is staying motivated. And this also comes through with looking at your calendar as you're making out your goals, because your goals turns into your timeline, into your outline, into your plan of action over these next couple of weeks. And so it is easy to get discouraged if you can't write for a week because of what's going on in your life. So for example, I have a work conference coming up and I will be on travel. And I have already stated I'm not going to write at all during that time, because I know all of my time will be spent working, doing my day job. And that's what's needed of me to do. I have New York Comic Con coming up during these 12 weeks. I will not be writing while I'm going to New York Comic Con. I'm going to set those days aside to enjoy and have fun and to do what I'm doing and to meet all of you fabulous people. So I know, as I'm writing out my schedule, as I'm writing out my outline, as I'm keeping looking at these dates, as I'm looking to see what's coming down the pipeline, I'm keeping those things in mind as I am making out my daily schedule for myself or my weekly schedule for myself. Um, if you have a very stressful day job, like there are days where I come home and my brain is fried and it's wired and it's like I can't even bother looking at a computer screen. Create a daily habit that helps you relax quickly from your day job to be able to move into your writing habits, because writing should be relaxing. It shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't add to stress. And if it is adding to stress, then you might want to take another step back and breathe it out, because writing, yes, can have some stressful moments, but for the most part you should enjoy it. You're telling a story that people want to read and love, and so you need to take the time to make sure you're setting habits up every single day, so that way you can get to writing. If you need to have a reward system, if you're like, if I get to this at this level or whatever your tangible goal may be, if I complete this goal, I'm going to allow myself this. One of the things that I have done with every single book that I've written is I take myself out to dinner when I finish my draft. And I take myself out to a fancy dinner. I take myself out on a date. I treat myself real nice. And um I enjoy and celebrate myself. Um when I finish a draft. If I can't go out, I will Uber Eats or DoorDash me a great dinner. And I'm talking steak, expensive, T-bone, some mac and cheese, some pasta. I treat myself nicely when when I finish the first draft of my book, because that is probably one of the hardest parts. Editing is very hard as well, but actually completing it and saying you finished this draft, regardless if it ever makes it to a print, regardless if it ever makes it to a convention. There is this workout guy who always says every winner was once a beginner, and you are lapping everyone on the couch. So having that draft, you're already doing more than someone who says, one day I'm going to write a book. One day I'm going to write a book. You have a draft. So make sure you have a reward system in place and have those rewards already like lined out. Like when I get to this point, I'm going to reward myself. When I do this, I'm going to reward myself. When I do this, I'm going to reward myself. So if you have never completed your outline, if you've never completed a full outline before, make that like reward yourself when you get to that goal. But remember, you got to hold to it. The rewards only matter if you actually keep them for what they are for. Like if you only keep them true to themselves. Um, and then visualize the success. I can see my third book. I see it in my head. I see it on paper. I see the print. I see the cover. I see it all. And I know I'm going to finish it because I love this story. I love Olivia London. I love the story that I've created for her, the life that I made for her in this book. She might not like it right now, but I love that. Olivia London is a part of me. She is a version of myself that never exists, but only exists in paper. And I can see her story being completed, and I can see I know the ending she has already. I see it in my head, and I can visualize it. I can see it. I want you to be able to also see whatever you're about to create, whether it is a book, a screenplay, um, a comic, a graphic novel, whatever it is. See it, see see the end result, and love it. And if you don't love the end result, then that might be your little hint, hint, nudge, nudge to yourself to go back to the drawing board, because you want to love what you're doing, love the story that you're telling, because you have to tell other people why they want to read what you wrote. So make sure you enjoy it, make sure you love it. Um, and going back to daily habits before we move on to number 4 up today. Um, One of the habits I have that when I come home from work sometimes, if it's been a very stressful day and my brain is wired and fried and traffic was horrible and lunch wasn't as good as I wanted it to be and everything that could go wrong went wrong today, I don't want to bring that energy into my writing because then I'm in a bad mood. And sometimes writing in a bad mood, you like kill off characters you didn't need to kill off. We've all been there. We've all done it. Don't do it. It's easier said than done. So one of the things that I do is I take 10 minutes. I go into my room, and if you can get 10 minutes yourself, wherever room you need to do this in, I go to my room, I turn off my TV, I turn off the lights, I turn off everything. I open up Spotify and I do a playlist with no words. I have like a peaceful meditation playlist. There's even a playlist for like writing. YouTube has like the lo-fi music. I recommend no words, no words, just beautiful music, relaxing music, music that makes you breathe in, hold, breathe out, calming music. I put my headphones on, I close my eyes, I set my timer for 10 minutes. If you want to go longer than 10 minutes, you can, but I at least give myself 10 minutes. So I know I've hit 10 minutes of just enjoying that. I clear my mind. I don't think about anything. I don't stress about what went wrong or right at work today. I don't stress about what I have to do tomorrow. I don't stress about what I have to do after I take the headphones off. I just enjoy and I'm in the moment. I be in the moment. Um, and I've noticed that when I do that, I'm able to transition from my work self to my writing self because my brain has had a moment to calm, to just rest. We sleep because we need rest. Your brain sometimes might need to rest throughout the day. So if you need to take 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to just reset yourself, you're like, you know what? We wake up and we go to work. Our brain has had time to reset overnight. Sometimes your brain needs time to reset when you come home from work. So take those 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you only need 5 minutes, you're lucky. But I need at least 10 minutes of nothing. Even when I was on vacation, I told my friend I was traveling with, I was like, I need 20 minutes of not talking because I was too overstimulated. There was too much going on. My brain was too active. I had to think too much. I was too tired. I was too frustrated. I was so much. And I took those 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long you need. And I was listening to music with no words, just feeling the beats and the sounds. I did that before I logged in today. And it changed the nerves that I had went away. So those are some extra tips to stay motivated. And I also use my calendar. I type in I'm blocking out this time to this time to write. I'm blocking out this time and this time. For these writing courses, I've blocked them all out on my calendar on my phone. So that way if someone's like, oh, do you want to hang out? Oh, sorry, I can't. I have something planned. And when you have something planned, you got to stick to it. Because if you keep moving the priorities of writing, then eventually weeks will go by and you'll wonder, oh, I didn't accomplish anything. I didn't get anything done because you didn't make time for it. That's another daily habit. Another one I've done is I've had to, oh, this one hurt, put a timer on TikTok and Instagram. I am that person who scrolls through Reels and scrolls through TikToks for hours, looking at nothing. I can't even tell you half of the ones I've watched. So I put timers on it. If you need timers on there so that way you can stay focused, I'm like, you know what? I'm only allowing myself 30 minutes of TikTok today until I finish this. Put the timer on your phone. Screen is like you can put timer 30 minutes and it won't allow you to go into the app. You have to make a conscious effort to go around it. And you have to think about what's more important. scrolling mindlessly through the app, or getting something done. So those are habits that you can do as well. And maybe TikTok's a reward for you. Maybe you keep it blocked off your phone until you hit your daily limit, and then you're allowed to scroll. One of my things that I do for myself sometimes, if I have a goal, I love to play The Sims. And I always tell myself I only play like 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes turn into like 4 hours. And before I know it, my brain's tired because I've been controlling someone else's life. I can't even think about going and writing anymore because I spent 4 hours doing it. So now I'm not allowed to play The Sims until I hit my daily limit for the day, until I hit my goal for the day. And no matter how long it takes me to hit that goal, I'm not allowed to play The Sims until after it. Because you'll be like, oh, I'll just play it till like 1 o'clock. And then next thing you know, you built a family, you have a horse, you have a championship, you have kids, and now you just don't know what's going to happen. So make sure that when you set your schedule and your goals for each day, that you're keeping in mind your also rewards afterwards. Because your days, if you know you only can write first thing in the morning, then write first thing in the morning. If you know you're only going to be able to write right before you go to bed, keep that in mind as you're planning out your day. So that way you can give yourself actual ample time to get stuff done. I do see like 1 or 2 people viewing. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Right now the chats are not live at the moment just because I want to give people some privacy just because this is the first one that I've done. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. If you watch this after the 4th, this is September the 4th, when I'm recording this. If you are watching this after that, don't use Facebook. I don't check Messenger that often. But use either TikTok or Patreon or Instagram. Send me a message and I will follow up. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. And then the last thing is, the second to last thing is you guys do have homework. And it's not just you. I have homework. Because these sessions, and I don't know if I said in the very beginning, and if I didn't, I do apologize about that. These sessions are to help give you structure for what you're going to be working on the next couple of days. So you won't be making all the goals here during as you're watching this. You're understanding what you need to do before we meet next week, and what the goal of the week, or what the theme of the week is. And like I said, we have 12 weeks. And so everything you're doing in week 1 will help you go on to week 2. And everything we talk about in week 2, we stuff you're doing to prepare for week 3. So these weeks build upon themselves. So I hope that you will take the time to watch the videos in order, so that way we can all build these stories together. So your homework. You need to write a 1-page summary. I also will be writing a 1-page summary. And I had a teacher once, because there's no way I can check your homework. I had a teacher once who made homework. The homework grade was like never really that big. But she was like, if you don't do your homework, you're not really hurting me. You're hurting yourself, because it means you're not doing the work to get there. So we're going to write a 1-page summary of the story you are working on, of the idea that you have. So what that means is, for Amatry's Magic Book 3, I'm going to write, between now and next week, I'm working on a 1-page summary. And depending on I'll be doing probably a 1-page summary, maybe about 2 or 3 of these pages, just because I handwrite on here. And then if I transfer it to like a Word document, there's like three of these pages equals like 1 Word page. So let's go by the list of 1 Word or Google Doc page length. Summary of your story. That's the starting point. And you want to make sure that you have, of your book idea, your story idea, your graphic novel idea, whatever the idea is, write a 1-page summary. And this should include some of the main plot points, some key characters, the central theme, and then the message of the story. And don't worry, you don't have to read your summary to me. I'm not sure I'm going to read my summary to you, because I don't know if I want to tell you some spoilers, because there are a lot of spoilers that probably be happening in that 1-page summary. But That summary will help us when we start working on the plot and structure next week. And when we start talking about how to build your plot and what goes into it and what the structure, how to bring structure to your story. So to make sure you're prepared for week 1, remember homework, 1-page summary of your book idea. I hope this was helpful. I hope that, oh, sorry, I forgot. Your other piece of homework is finalize your goals. So you need 2 things when you watch video 2. Come back next week. It would be December 12th. I know on my Instagram it said the 10th. It's incorrect. I'll be reposting that. Our next meeting will be December 12th. We'll go over everything for week 2. You need all of your goals. Finalize your goal. Like, what is your goal for these 12 weeks? And remember, your goals, you need to make sure that they are measurable, that they are relevant, they're time bound, and they are specific. Like, you flush out your goal. Like, we have vision boards, but like make this like an actual like timeline. Your goal at the end of these 12 weeks is what? Um, I'll flesh out my goals. I will share my goals with you guys next week. If I forget to do so, call me out on it. But I will share those. Probably won't share the 1-page summary, but I will share what I wrote down for my goals are, and how I want to break things up, and what I want to have done when we get to the end of the 12 weeks. If you follow me on my Instagram, I will be posting the next meeting date there. Here on these streaming channels, I will be posting the next couple of sessions so you guys can keep track of it. But the next one we'll be meeting here live September 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to watch whenever it comes up for you guys. But I am hoping that at the end of these 12 weeks that we all will have a tangible product that we are ready to start working on and editing. And if you think I don't have a course for that, you're mistaken. We'll get to that in the new year. So thank you to everyone who joined on the live tonight. I know you didn't say anything in the chat, but that is okay. It's sometimes a little bit nerve-wracking being the first one. So thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to go on this fall-ish writing workshop journey with you guys. We have 12 weeks before we are going to have a draft, a full outline, if that's what you want to do, a half a book, just the bones, whatever your goal is. In 12 weeks, if you stick with me, we're going to get there. So thank you so much for joining me. I am Andrea Rose Washington, and I will see you next time.